Okay, thank you. Welcome everyone to our council meeting of Wednesday, January 27th, 2021. This meeting is being conducted by means of electronic participation as permitted by Section 238, 3.1 of the Municipal Act 2001 as amended and the Town of Mono Procedure Bylaw 2020-42. Council chambers is not open to the public at this time. This meeting can be viewed live on our Mono Civic portal. And I just want to confirm that there is a full quorum of council members and call the meeting to order. Public notification of these proceedings is being video recorded and broadcast. Reminding members of council that disclosure of pecuniary interest can be made now or at any time throughout the meeting. And at this time I asked Councillor Nix if he would read the Indigenous Land Acknowledgement. Councillor Nix.
Yes. We would like to begin by respectfully acknowledging that the town of Mono resides within the traditional territory and ancestral lands of the Tenochtitlan, Attawandaron, Haudenosaunee, and Anishinaabe peoples. We also acknowledge that the town of Mono resides within the treaty lands named under Treaty 18, the Nottawasaga Purchase of 1818. These traditional territories upon which we live and learn are steeped in rich Indigenous history and traditions. It is with this statement that we declare to honor and respect the past and present connection of Indigenous peoples with this land, its waterways and resources.
Thank you. Now we're at the adoption of the agenda, and we have a motion that council approves the agenda of session 2-2021 as circulated. Could I have a mover, please?
I'll move.
Okay, we'll put down Sharon as mover and seconded by Mantelo. Is there any additions, deletions? Seeing none, then I'll ask, is anyone opposed to the motion? And hearing none, that's carried. The next motion is the approval of the previous minutes. The council approves the minutes of session 1-2021 as circulated. Could I have a mover, please? Moved by Nix and seconded by Creelman. And is there any discussion on the minutes? Seeing none, then I'll ask if anyone is opposed to that motion. And I'm not hearing anything, so that's carried. We have no proclamations at this time. Public question period. Mr. Simpson, is there anything that's come in from the public?
No, we do not have any questions from the public for this morning.
Okay, thank you. We have no delegations scheduled. So we're on to unfinished business and deferred items. The first one is a list of unfinished and deferred council business, and that's been circulated with the agenda. Is there any questions, deletions, additions? Not hearing anything. All right, so we will carry on then. So the second item is application for variance to fill by law, Ritchie on fourth line Mono. There has been a request by the applicant that we defer making a decision on this item. Council members were informed of this yesterday afternoon. So I want to open the floor for discussion with this item. That's how you'd like to proceed. Councillor Nix?
Well, I must say I'm getting a bit frustrated. This has been on or near our desks for almost a year now. I'm frustrated because we had a public meeting on July 14th where the public expressed some concerns and council members expressed some concerns, and we asked for the applicant to take those concerns into consideration, and what he's put on our desk is a plan identical to the one of a year ago. However, having said that, he's asked for a deferral so his engineer can respond to the Burnside report, and I guess in fairness we have to give him a deferral.
Okay. Any other comments? Councillor Banklow?
1 year ago, January the 21st, 2020, PennHack dealt with this application, and they made some recommendations to Ritchie. Among those recommendations was that he consider other options than fill, including using the native soil and other things such as changes in the haul permits, and asked him to resubmit with a response to these items. We received nothing. On July the 14th, at the public meeting, the same issues came up, and it was made very clear that the community also was very negative on this, and he was asked to respond to the community's concerns, and the community's concerns were potential well contamination, contamination of the aquifer, the process of bringing the soil there, and they filled there, noise and dust and danger. And he was asked to respond to these. We heard nothing. That was 6 months ago. And then, I don't have the date for this, but I think it was prior to Christmas, our CAO corresponded with him with a request that he provide us with the answers that had previously been asked for. Again, we heard nothing. So this man has not proceeded with the application in due process, and we have given him more than enough time to do that. So I see no reason for deferring this further.
Okay. Okay, John, did you have any comments?
Well, I'm extraordinarily disappointed in this 11th hour request for an adjournment so that we can do what should have been done almost exactly a year ago. Part of me thinks that, in fairness, we should grant the request for an adjournment with conditions, and part of me thinks that the record of non-response to issues raised by the community and by the town is so strong that we should proceed with a decision today. I'd like to hear from other members of council as to what their views are, because I think I could go either way on this. But if we do grant an adjournment, I think it should be for written submissions only, and I think those written submissions should be made available to members of the community so they in turn can respond in writing. I don't want to see council waste any more time on this than is absolutely necessary, and that includes long-winded presentations of material that we can otherwise read. So I'm going to hold my position until I hear from others. Sorry to put you on the spot.
No, that's fine. Sharon?
I'm in agreement with Ralph and one of John's sides, and I think that we need to proceed. We've certainly heard enough. We've put a lot of time into this, and I would really like us to see us go forward today.
Okay. And I agree with that position also. I think that there had been a period of time where the applicant had been requesting us to consider making the decision on the application, and we asked for the issue of the importation of fill issue be resolved first before we brought the application forward again. So he was quite adamant that he wanted this dealt with right away, and then now to hear that he wants it deferred, I'm not sure what more information we're going to get when we haven't been receiving what we've requested in the first place. So I would be in favor of reviewing the application today and making a decision, and we can get on with the processes that council has to get on with. So, is there any discussion on the information that has been provided to us to help us make a decision? Yes, Councillor Nix.
Well, one of the issues and the problems with the original plan is that they had a drainage tile or conduit under the horse training track heading south directly to the neighbor's property, which would have the effect of funneling all the runoff in the spring over the neighbor's septic bed. Now, we discussed that with them, and I made a visit to his place in August, and we talked about it with his contractor, and they said that would be removed. And the idea then was that the interior of the horse track, there would be no drainage from it, but the soil was sandy enough that any meltwater would basically infiltrate in. So this, by the way, I think is not a major point. It's small, but in the plan that has been submitted to us now, that drainage pipe is still there. He hasn't removed it. At least to the extent I'm understanding the drawings, it's still there. So that's one of my concerns. The other one is he has not, of course, looked at a cut and fill operation, which he's been asked to. He claims the native soil is not suitable. I'm no expert on soils, but we've had our engineering firm look at it, and they've concluded there is some soil there that could be used. I actually think they could go further, but again, I'm not the expert here, but I think it should be looked at. There's the whole interior of that training track that's just going to be an empty field. So all kinds of soil in it, and a lot of it could be used to be shoved south to raise the southern portion of the track by 3 meters. I know in the end you'd still need some stronger material to put on top, so there'd have to be some fill. But in any case, my main point is this: the plan he's put before us today is identical to what we looked at before, and he hasn't addressed either of those issues.
Okay. John, I see you've got your mic on.
I'm just wondering if there's a motion on the floor.
There isn't at this time. I have 2 prepared motions, but I just wanted to make sure that there wasn't any other questions regarding or discussion regarding the information that Mr. Early and Gord Finiak provided us. So,
I think Fred has addressed my concern, that being the drainage
yeah,
onto the neighbor's property.
okay,
Very concerning.
okay. Ralph?
Your Honor, I'd just like to make a comment on Mr. Peniak's report, because this has dealt with the questions that we had asked Mr. Ritchie, and Mr. Peniak, who's, as you know, is a senior at the engineer at Burnside, has made a number of really, I think, very important points, and I'd just like to repeat them. And one is that there is sufficient soil at the northeast end of the proposed track on the inside, that it could be brought down to the southwest side and adequately provided a base. Further, that the whole project could be made easier if he was to lower the height of the track by 1 meter. And he has said that's a problem on the north side, but I doubt that. I think that bank could be managed by other mechanisms. So he could decrease the amount of soil needed just by lowering the track 1 meter. And that would also deal with another problem that Mr. Peniak has outlined, and that's that the track is too close to the neighbor to the south, and that the embankment level is too steep. Gordon also brought up the issue of the design, pointing out that a portion of the track had a slope that the horses could run on, which was steeper than any road in the town of Mono. And we really wonder about the quality of this whole assessment based on findings of errors such as that. So Mr. Finiak has told us that there's enough soil there, and has explained that this project could go ahead with minimal, I think he said minimal fill. I knew that we would need something for top dressing. I think it's worth noting that we have the answers to the questions that we were asking Mr. Ritchie in Mr. Finiak's document. Thank you.
Okay. Sharon, you have your mic on?
Actually, Ralph just brought up two of the things that I was going to talk about, so I'm good.
Okay. So with that, we do have two possible motions. I'll read the first one, that the Council for the Town of Mono denies the application for variance to bylaw 2014-31 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate site alterations, placement of fill, and removal of topsoil within the Town of Mono for the proposed site alterations submitted by Paul Ritchie et al. Pertaining to 833-231 fourth line EHS Mono, as it is not in the general interest of the public. That's not one way to go. Or the other one is that the Council for the Town of Mono defers the application for the variance bylaw 2014-31 as amended, being a bylaw to regulate site alterations, placement of fill, and removal of topsoil within the Town of Mono for the proposed site alterations submitted by Paul Ritchie et al. Pertaining to 833-231 fourth line EHS Mono, and that Council will reconsider the application upon submission of a revised fill management plan that addresses Council's and the general public's concerns, including site grading, in order to reduce or eliminate the need for imported fill. So I'm putting it out to you, whoever wants to move either one of these motions. John?
I'm prepared to move the first motion, that we deny the application.
Okay, and seconded by Ralph? You're seconding the motion?
Yes, I have, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. So moved by Creelman and seconded by McDelow that the application be denied. And any further discussion?
I'm requesting a recorded vote, please.
Okay. And Fred Nix, you've got your mic on. Did you have anything you wanted to comment on the motion?
I'm getting ready to vote.
Oh, okay. So I'll ask Mark, or is it you or Fred Simpson that will do the recorded vote?
I'm ready to go if that's
Okay.
So the motion is to deny the application. Councillor Martin,
Yes?
Councillor Magdalow,
Yes.
Councillor Nix,
Yes.
Deputy Mayor Creelman,
Yes?
Mayor Ryan.
Yes.
That motion is carried.
Okay, thank you. And so we're on to bylaws, correspondence, and new business and additions to the agenda. So the first item is the 2021 census. And I like when it comes in as a do not reply. FYI, here we are. So I'm not sure exactly what is the suggestion. So I'm going to ask Mr. Early of any comments that he has on what's being requested.
I think it's just information at this time. I think they're just, this is PR, I think, to get it out to the general public that the census is going to be done in 2021, and they're looking for the attached resolution be passed by council.
Okay. And I guess my question would be right off. We're in a lockdown situation at this time. Until such time as the lockdown is lifted, I'm kind of curious how this is going to be taken, how they're going to allow it. A lot of people are going to be slamming the door, not wanting anybody talking to them. So, but anyway, any questions regarding the item? Seeing none, we've got a motion, be it resolved that the council of the corporation of the town of Monroe.
Lorna, David
Yes.
Cross had his hand up.
Oh, sorry, David?
Comment, Mayor Ryan. I mean, yes, there is an embedded template resolution there that Mark referred to. So, I mean, your point's well taken. I'll get back to Mr. Bowlby and see what they have in mind in order to roll out the census. So,
Yeah.
if it's an electronic format, they're going to need emails, I guess, or I'm not sure how else they could do it. But I'll find out. I'll follow
Okay.
up on it.
Okay, thank you. Be resolved that the council of the corporation of the town of Monroe supports the 2021 census and encourages all residents to complete their census questionnaire online at www.census.gc.ca. Accurate and complete census data support programs and services that benefit our community. So, could I have a mover? Moved by Nix and seconded by Martin. Any further discussion? Anybody opposed to the motion? That carries. Okay, so the next one is the Source Protection Committee nomination. That information was circulated, and Councillor Nix did put his name forward as a potential nominee. And so we have a motion, Council for the Town of Monroe nominates Fred Nix for the South Georgian Bay Lake Simcoe Source Protection Committee, representing the Nottawasaga Valley watershed, and that Councillor Ralph Mactolo be the authorized voting member for the Town of Monroe. And so I need a mover, moved by Martin, and I'm going to second it.
Do I have to declare a conflict of interest?
Oh, I think everybody will be quite fine with. So, I'll ask for the vote. Ralph?
Could I have a little clarification? I read through this document a couple of times that our governor wrote, and Fred, maybe you have a better handle on this, but is it correct that they're looking for one individual from all of the municipalities, and that we'll be voting on those individuals that were nominated by their municipalities for this one position? Is that your understanding?
They're asking for one municipal rep out of, I think there's 6 or 7 on the committee. And my understanding of how this one rep will be determined is, I think, the Source Protection Authority, which is one and the same as the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority, gets to vote on it. I don't think the other 2 conservation areas get to vote. I could be wrong on that, Ralph, but at the NVCA, which sits as the Source Protection Authority, one member has 1 vote for this position.
I may not have phrased it very well, but what I was asking is, are they looking for one single person to be added right now, and that person can come from any municipality? And you're running to be that one person.
That's my understanding. There's 6 or 7 municipal reps on the committee, and I assume one of the terms was up or somebody retired. I don't know. They're looking for one person.
Okay. So we need to sharpen your CV up a bit.
Well, okay, I'll work on it.
So John, I see you're back. We have a motion that's been put forward, moved by Martin, seconded by Ryan, that Fred Nix be nominated for the Source Protection Committee, and Ralph will be the authorized voting member for the Town of Monroe. So that motion's on the
Yes,
floor.
I'm content with that.
Okay,
Thanks
Mark?
for taking it on.
yeah, Mark?
Your worship, we felt it was probably appropriate just to keep the resolution very clean and just appoint the candidate and appoint the voting representative. But we can certainly provide a letter to the Nottawasaga Valley Conservation Authority with the resolution and also some background with Councillor Nix's resume for the position, if that works.
Okay.
Okay.
So if everybody's comfortable with that direction, then I'm going to call for the vote. Is anyone opposed to these members? No? Okay, so that's carried. Thank you for that, gentlemen. And so now we're on to Schedule A. Sharon, do you have anything on Schedule A that you wanted to comment on? Your mic? No?
Not at this time, not at this time.
Okay, thank you. Ralph, did you have anything you wanted to comment on Schedule A?
Yes, Your Honor, I have three things. I'll take them in order. Number 9 is the solid wood heat webinar. I don't know whether anybody has an interest in this to attend. I think it's 6 sessions, but it's an interesting topic, and I'll probably try and attend one or two of them. It's an area we haven't really explored very much here because we've been so much attached to oil. Although I have one friend who had a pellet furnace, and it was kind of fascinating to watch these little pellets dropping in at regular intervals into the fire. Anyway, that's just in passing. If anybody else is interested in solid wood heat. And there are 2 other items. One is number 12, and the other is 13. And both of these are resolutions from other counties, Grey, West Grey, and Dufferin. I'd like to support them with a letter from our municipality. The first one, number 12, is about the composition of the Conservation Authority Advisory Committee, which is supposed to help, or is going to help, I shouldn't say supposed, is going to help the ministry develop their regulations with respect to Bill 229. And the note has been made by Dufferin County that the composition of this committee is almost entirely made up of Conservation Authority people. So we have, that's wonderful to have their expertise. I mean that very sincerely, but they've also pointed out that Dufferin County has pointed out that municipalities are paying for a large portion of the shot, and they should have some say in this, more than one municipal rep. So the letter that they've sent is recommending that it be more evenly constituted with more municipal reps, and I think it's worth sending that letter. So we're asking to have a letter from our municipality, from myself, to honor supporting Dufferin County.
Okay, so is everyone in favor of sending that response? Yep, okay, so Fred Simpson, you've got that in hand.
So the second, if I may continue, is the resolution of West Grey with respect to, it's the same Bill 229, but I think it was Schedule 8. And this is a remarkable one. When I read it, I thought to myself, good grief, are we throwing everything away? This is to exempt the forestry operation from having to consider endangered species in the area that they propose to harvest. And you know, forests cover so much of Ontario. It means that potentially all endangered species are no longer protected here in Ontario. So I think we should send a letter of support for the resolution of West Grey.
Okay, so everybody's fine with that also? Getting nodding of heads, okay. So is that it for you, Ralph?
That's it, Your Honor. Thank you.
Okay. Fred, do you have anything?
Just a simple one on, it's number
is it number 3? Yeah. Do we know when the electoral task force is going to report? Because we're going to run into a timing issue, aren't we? Well, anyway, my question is, do we know when they're going to report?
Fred Simpson, what's the date for that meeting?
The task force has a meeting tonight at 7 p.m. where the chair, I believe, is intending on submitting to the rest of the task force a draft report. So whether they pass that this evening or if they need a further meeting to refine it, it should be coming fairly soon. The timeline is no longer as strict as what we thought it was, because in the COVID budget bill that made changes to the Municipal Election Act, they, of course, extended the deadline for municipalities, or not extended, changed it, for municipalities to pass a bylaw to bring in not ranked ballots, ward system. So they actually have more time than we originally thought. It was May of this year. It's now delayed till next May.
Okay.
Thank you, that's all. That's
Okay.
all.
John, did you have anything?
No, Ralph raised the issue that I was going to address, that being the wood heat matter, and I'm going to try and attend some of those webinars as well.
Okay. All right then, so we have a motion that we accept Schedule A to this agenda. Could I have a mover? Moved by Nix and seconded by Freelman. Any further discussion? Anyone opposed to the motion? Hearing none, that carries. And so now we're on to reports of council and staff. So we'll start with, let's see, Les Haluka. Is there anything that you wanted to report to us?
Okay, thank you, Madam Mayor. Good morning. Just a couple of things. A couple weeks ago, the Dufferin County Treasurers met virtually. We discussed the topic I mentioned to council. Actually, Councillor Martin brought up on Schedule A, the new business class that the province is opening up for small business to set a preferred tax ratio. After some discussion, it's going to be a complicated process. Plus, the regulations aren't on that anyways, so it doesn't look like anything will happen for 2021, most likely next year. And then last Friday, we had the DMOA meeting, and from that meeting relating to Treasury, the county is, I guess, they're getting from all the local municipalities a high volume of MVC billings for fire department calls, and they don't have a process like the local tier municipalities to bill the insurance companies. So what the agreement is being processed is that the local municipalities will bill directly to the insurance companies like we do for all other accidents, whether it's on mono roads or MTO roads. And if we don't get reimbursed after a year, then we'll submit the bill to the county, which at that time they have agreed to pay. And that's my update.
Okay, any questions of Les? Seeing none, thank you very much, Les.
Okay,
David?
thank you.
Thank you, Mayor. Not too much to report, really. I am awaiting a few plan applications that are coming in. Some of them are consents. One of them is a condominium on the Mono Hills property. And then also the one, what was Orangeville Developments over off of 10 Golden Robinson, which is a plan, a revised plan there. So they're to be coming in the next few weeks. And that's pretty much I have right now at this point. Thanks.
Any questions of David? Yes, Fred?
David, has the town of Mono, have we communicated to the province anything about minister zoning orders? And I don't think we have. I was trying to remember. I've just been reading up on this in the last day or two. and become a little concerned, because it's my understanding the current government has issued 33 MZOs in the last year. And I know Ralph was attending a session that on this subject, so maybe he knows something about it. But I became concerned when I saw the number, and I was trying to think. I don't know the details, David, as to how these things work. But I'm assuming in our municipality, an MZO could overtake the Oak Ridge Marine Plan, the Niagara Escarpment Plan, our prime agricultural areas, the Green Belt Plan. In other words, it could supersede any of those planning documents, which concerns me. So the last part of my two parts to end my question. Am I right that a minister's zoning order could supersede those plans? And B, I guess to the rest of council, since I'm concerned about this, should we maybe let the province or our local MPP know that we have a concern about how these things are used? I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not flat against them. I understand there can be some emergency situations where you need this under the Planning Act. It's the frequency of their use right now that concerns me. Sorry, it's a long question, David, but that's where my mind's at right now.
I have never, in my experience, seen an indication where one of those key plans has been subject of an MZO. I haven't had anything from the province at this point in terms of interest in mono. You got me off guard. I'm not sure that there are provisions in the NEP against the PPS where the NEP prevails. So I'm going to have to read through the legislation because I'm not sure that an MZO can trump the provisions in the NEP. I'll have to get back to you on that one. That may, I don't know, but I just don't know. I'm gonna have to find out for you. But I have not had any, or the Greenbelt for that matter, or the ORM plan. I think that would be rather unique, particularly if it was related to core designation lands in any of those three plans. But that said, I haven't had anything from the province about interest in MZOs in mono at this point.
Okay. Mark, I see you've got your mic on.
Yeah, the general position of the province has been that all of these MZOs have been requested by the local municipalities. Now, when you analyze the MZOs, I don't think that's the case, and I think that a lot of the municipalities that have seen MZOs are saying that they didn't request them from the province. I'm just kind of putting forward what the province has said. I've seen, I think there's a list of 33 that are out there. I've seen a report. It came from the NDP office, just looking at why the MZOs were approved, who requested them, and generally who's been lobbying for the MZOs. I can certainly provide that to council. It's very interesting if I didn't send it through the first time. So, I think to date, that's the position of the province, is municipalities need to ask for the MZOs first and foremost. I don't know, push come to shove, whether that is a true fact. So, that's my comments.
Okay, thank you. Ralph?
I'm so pleased that Fred brought this up. I think that the next thing to do is get some further information, as David has offered to do. When Minister Clark presented this yesterday, he presented at least a half dozen developments, which were all building developments, which had used in Minister of Zoning orders. They were things such as long-term care facilities or other facilities which were of benefit to the community. And he indicated that they were all at the request of the municipality. But I don't know whether, as Marcus said, this is really true or not. But the whole idea frightens me. We have, for the benefit of our land, we've set up a fairly elaborate network of checks, which we hope will control things so that 100 years from now we can come here and there'll still be some green space. And I'm concerned that these MSO are likely to be harmful for this. So thanks for bringing this up, Fred, and I really think that we should get a little more information before we send a letter. It seems to me that when you send a letter to the various people as a cautionary note, they can't help but have this in the background of their thinking when they're trying to use some process such as one of these zoning orders. I think that it's a good thing to do. Thank you.
Okay, so Mark has offered to provide us with the information that he had been looking through. So if we could start there with David's information that he gets, and then we can revisit this and see how we want to proceed if we do want to send letters, etc. So, okay. So thank you, David, for that. Kim, are you with us?
I'm here.
Oh, good.
Just a couple of things is to update council on. Let you know that the Medill skating rink, I'm now happy to let you know, is up and running. It was off to a slow start, but with the help of staff, the volunteers did manage to get it put in, and is now ready for use. So happy to report that. And following with skating, oops, sorry, I didn't realize I hadn't shared. And following with skating rinks, just keeping in line with the lockdown hours, the skating rinks do close at 8 p.m. now. They did close prior to this. The lights went off at 10 p.m. But we have reset the timer so that the skating rinks are also now closed at 8 p.m. as well. Rack board has been very busy with creating the Mono Bingo Challenge. I'm happy to report, and it's just in kind of the final stages of getting the I's dotted and T's crossed. So we're hoping to have that up and online for February 1st, and the idea is that it will run for 4 weeks. People will be able to look at our bingo cards and fill in a line or fill in the whole card, whatever the case may be. Once they have filled it in, then they will report back to us via pictures to the committee, and they'll then be entered into a draw for an assortment of prizes that we have at the end of each week. So yeah, happy that that's going forward. It's all being done virtually, but all of the challenges that we're putting forth are things that are family oriented and at home challenges. So it looks like it's going to be a great program. And what else do I have to tell you? Ski Club, I've been in contact with them. They are doing a great job out there. They've sent me all of their protocols for COVID. They've just done a magnificent job. I'm really happy with what they've sent us as far as adhering to all COVID guidelines. And they're out there providing a fabulous recreation opportunity for the members of the club. It is closed to daily drop-ins, which I totally agree with. But the members of the club, you can join the club if you want to take advantage of their ski rental program and go out and ski. So even in the wake of all of this, the ski club's doing a great job. I think that's about it that I have on mine. Oh, and the grant application for our summer student has been submitted. So all looking good.
Okay. Any questions of Kim? Seeing none, thanks very much. Mr. Dunmore.
Thank you, Council. I'll leave my camera off. I got some bandwidth problems. So just a correction on my verbal report from last week with respect to the fiber installs that was approved under the SWIFT program. The install completion date was February of 2022. I told Council 2021, which was absolutely non-achievable. So we're working through the process right now. They do have an agreement that they want Council to sign, and that will come in the next 1 or 2 meetings. I think that just gives them the right to occupy our road allowance in general. And then we'll go through all the engineering reviews and placement of utilities, etc. I'm also asking them for a better map than what SWIFT has provided on the website It's very hard to understand what they're installing and where they're installing it. So I'll continue to update council as that goes along. There's a SCADA meeting going on right now. I told council last week we're expecting to wrap that up this week or this month, and I'll have a better response for next council meeting. With respect to the install of the water main along Highway 9, we have 4 of the 10 commercial properties that have now are receiving potable water and or are very close to receiving potable water. So, and we have a couple other properties that are starting conversations with the Town of Mono Water Department. We'll be commencing with some backflow prevention month. We're wanted to get it going in January, but it looks more realistically like March with my other responsibilities right now. So that'll be for our high-risk commercial properties that will be ensuring that they have proper backflow prevention for the water system. And further to the emails that council's received on the wastewater treatment plant, I have a draft with respect to the Deputy Mayor Creelman's request to have some residential sort of a frequently asked questions page. I have a draft right now. I will be adding some wastewater specific notes to that, and I expect to have a draft copy for Deputy Mayor's review probably first of next week. And with respect to last council, we spoke about the amendments to the upcoming amendments to the Drainage Act with respect to municipal drains. I sat in on the webinar in early January, and there's some minor amendments that it's really a downloading session from what I can tell. They're not removing any of the regulatory requirements like the Department of Fisheries or the conservation authorities, but they are adding a section where a proponent, a person that is affected by the municipal drain, can go through council now and receive council approval for the excavation of the municipal drain for a minor project. Now, a minor project would be 1 or 2 homeowners want their portion of the drain opened, and the fees normally would be spread amongst all the recipients of the benefit of the municipal drain, but they're making this so that an applicant can come to council with a minor and consider it a minor, and the construction costs would be borne by the applicant. It wouldn't be spread among the 9 or 10 stakeholders. So I'll have more information on that. I don't think we'll win by rejecting the amendments. I think that it's just another example of them put in, and they do put a little more control into the town council. So unless there's any major concerns, I will get Fred to post the webinar slideshow on site, on the website, and forward it to council should anybody want to read it. And there's also a process for a quicker process for updating changes that may have occurred during construction. So I don't see any major flaws other than it's just another example of municipal downloading. And that is all I have, unless there's any questions from council.
Okay, Ralph?
Thank you, Mike. I just have an information question. When a resident wants to have their portion of a drain open, what does that mean? I thought a drain was sort of like a man-made creek that drains land into one of our waterways.
So I won't try to quote dates because I don't know when the Drainage Act was originally input, but there came a time where it's really farm related, these drains, and they were managed by the town and the municipalities to the benefit of the farmers. And these drains were cleaned and so forth to ensure that these farmlands were farmable. and it was all managed by the municipality through bylaws and through the Drainage Act, where those that would benefit or touch the drain have a share in the fee of it. So they're not a storm pipe, or they're basically a ditch. Ditch's main function is to drain the surrounding farmland.
So the application of somebody who's building a house would need to connect to that, to be able to put a ditch in that would connect to that drain. Is that the process they're looking for?
They're not really meant to deal with residential builds. These are normally at these are strictly for farmers, and through natural topography, a new house in the vicinity of a municipal drain would likely benefit from the drainage of it, but they're usually on the low spot. So yeah, a house in theory would probably drain to a municipal drain, but it's not a requirement.
Thank you.
Any other questions of Mike? Seeing none then, thank you, Mike. Fred Simpson.
A couple of things that I wanted to bring up. One was we are advancing on establishing a canine control agreement with a new vendor, as well as a system to administer the issuing and maintaining of dog tags. So that's progressing along quite well. I hope to have a draft agreement for council at the next meeting. I'd like to bring up the topic of town hall meetings. I just want to get a feel if council is looking to have one or two this year, in which case I'll bring back more information. But we do need to consider if we're going to have a spring one, then it's probably time to start looking at that now.
Fred next.
Well, I'm probably going to get in trouble for saying that. I know we have to communicate with our residents, but I don't think our last virtual town hall meeting was very successful. I think for all the effort we put into it and the number of viewers we got, it simply wasn't worth the effort. I could be wrong on that. That's how I came away from the last one.
Rob?
I think if we do have another town hall, we do need to learn from the past and restructure it in a way that might be more successful. And I have a suggestion: if we do, the issue that everybody's almost daily trying to get information about is about COVID, and it's a changing thing. And I'll speak about it a little bit in my report. But I think that it would be very valuable to have somebody from the public health unit to be a part of a COVID presentation and answer and question and answer session. So that's one suggestion for a topic, Fred.
Okay. And Sharon, you've got your mic on?
I also feel that we should learn some lessons from the last town hall meeting, and I think it really didn't do us much good to have that. Perhaps it was the topics we chose that interest of us, for us, but not necessarily for the public. So I'd be inclined to say we could skip this one in the spring, unless we have a firm issue, unless there's something we really need to talk about. And a town hall meeting could be about one thing. It doesn't need to be a whole program. So that's just my thought. I'd just as soon skip it.
Okay. John, you've got your mic on?
I agree. We have to learn from the last one, and I think one of the things we need to learn is that we need to provide for the opportunity for residents to talk. If the agenda is such that we have presentation after presentation, or even one large presentation, by the time we get around to permitting questions and comments, everybody's tuned us out. So I'd be in favor of having one, but I think we have to give some long and hard thought about the format.
Okay, so I guess we are then going to have to task ourselves with topic or topics and format, and be able to provide some guidance to Mr. Simpson to get things underway in terms of planning. So that'll be homework for our next meeting. Fair enough? Yes, Ralph?
Well, I agree with you, Your Honor. We need to plan this in a long time in advance so we can get information out to people, so they see notices in the newspaper, etc., and it has to catch their eye and to set aside the time.
Okay. Okay, so is there anything else, Fred?
There is. So I guess for town hall, then, when you say a long ways out, are we talking April or May, or do you think we're looking at March? And in the past, councils run them in March and in April. Easter's in early April this year. May, of course, we have May 2-4, which lands on May 2-4 this year.
Well, I would think that if we can, this is my opinion, if we look at possibly the first week of May, because that's also cleanup week for roadside cleanup, so we might be able to, get people enthusiastic with that. The other thing is that knowing that with the vaccines are becoming available, the longer we allow that to take process, then people are going to be able to be a little bit more tuned into what's going on in the community and not sequestered in their homes. So, yes, Sharon?
Yeah, I'd be happy with the first week of May. That certainly gives us enough time to reorganize how we are going to be presenting, make sure that some people from the public can be talking. I think that May would be as far out as I think we can go. And if May is it, that's what we should do.
Okay. Ralph?
Let's also discuss the day of the week. If we're going to do May, I'm happy with that, but if we do May in our usual time with Saturday morning, I don't think the attendance is going to be good, because everybody's going to be so pleased to get out on the land and be not available. But can we, I'm just suggesting we might consider doing on a weekday evening.
Right. Yeah, that's good to consider too. So we will put that item on our next agenda for discussion and be able to give Fred some direction. Okay, yes, Sharon.
That I like that idea, and I think that part of our homework could be to ask people that we meet if an evening would be the best option, better than Saturday. I think we can do that homework quite easily.
Great. Okay, so Fred Simpson, anything else?
So, not exactly tying into that, but another thing for council to consider is Senior of the Year nominations. Those are due to the province on April 30th. In the past, the recent past, council had nominated someone in both 2018 and 2017, but not since then. The Senior of the Year nomination is strictly a nomination sent into the province, and then they confirm it. There are obviously some basic rules on who can be nominated. And then there's also the Ontario Senior Achievement Award, which is a more involved process. That's completing a application sent to the province by June 15th, in which the province then makes the selection and issues the award. Does the council have any interest in either of those for 2021?
Well, it's always been a challenge to try and pick individuals in the community, and I think it's even more difficult now that we're all on lockdown, and we can't sort of seem to access, and a lot of people aren't able to go and do the volunteer work that they want to do, et cetera, et cetera. So I'm not sure what to say. Anybody want to comment? Sharon?
You have to be careful, you know, when you nominate someone for Senior of the Year. The next thing you know, they run for council. 2011.
Good point. Okay. So, all right, well, we'll have to keep that in mind, Fred, and we'll put that on our list of homework for next meeting to make some kind of decision. Okay?
That's great, and that's all I've got. Thank you.
Anybody have any questions of Fred? No, everybody's okay. Okay, thanks, Fred. So, Mark.
Your Worship, I have three matters. One just for council's information. The deputy mayor and the mayor and I have a meeting with Rogers this afternoon about potential expansion of wireless into the community. So that's good news, hopefully. Hopefully they'll come from a different direction than what Vianet's doing. Secondly, I did attend the TAPMO meeting Sunday afternoon. They meet down at Roma, as you're aware. TAPMO meets usually at Roma and AMO. It was a lengthy meeting. They are looking at, just so council's aware, they are looking at hiring a lobbyist, basically fight fire with fire. The OSGA, the Sand and Gravel Association, are heavily connected within this Conservative government, and the TAPMO is looking to try to advance their primary issues through the government at this time. So what they're looking at hitting on this time around is the fair taxation issue. Right now, sand and gravel properties are taxed at the lowest rate within the agricultural assessment. They used to be assessed industrial, so there was at least some benefit to municipalities hosting sand and gravel operations. Now, again, there's very little taxation paid. So they're hoping to move the fight from M&R, who seem to be firmly entrenched with the Sand and Gravel Association, and move it into finance and treasury and municipal affairs on a fair taxation basis. So there was a lot of discussion on that. They have chosen to move ahead with hiring the particular lobbyists, who are I guess a conservative firm, and they will be putting together a business plan with costs to be sent out to all of the municipalities. The thinking at this time was that those municipalities that are larger financially and have a larger tonnage being taken out through the municipalities will be the ones to bear the financial brunt, but that's still to be determined. So that was TAPMO. And then finally, provincial parks, that whole issue is definitely heating up. I think council's aware of numerous letters that were forwarded out on the second line. I also saw one on third line and 25 side road parking. I've asked for clarification from provincial parks. It hasn't been forthcoming as of yet, but just so council's aware, the staff working committee is meeting tomorrow. So hopefully we can get something from the park staff as to changes. I'm looking for process so that we can provide the public with a process as to what the province what they'll work through if they're proposing any changes to the park plans. I believe the minister is meeting with various mayors that have provincial parks within their boundaries tomorrow as well. And then finally, I was contacted as a result of our submission to MECP requesting a meeting between the mayor and the minister, or the town and the minister, regarding the provincial park situations. I didn't get a meeting with the minister by any means, but their staff has contacted me and they want to discuss the various issues Friday morning. So I've got that set up with senior staff at the ministry. So that's my update at this time.
Okay. Any questions of Mark? Seeing none then, thank you, Mark. And so now, Sharon, did you have a report?
Sorry. Well, I had no heritage meeting, no Shelburne fire board meeting, and what was the other one? No meetings. So, but however, I've been further to what Mark was talking about. I've certainly been involved in getting a lot of information about what's happening at the park. And I'd say that Kathy Lindsay is certainly a source for that. Her recommendations to close the second line parking lots, that was accepted by the park managers. An issues paper was circulated for public consultation and was acted upon. The parking lot was closed. Access moved to the third line. And I think that that's probably a really good plan. I don't think that this is a parking issue. This is not a parking issue. This is a people issue. And what we have is far too many people on that property. If you remember Linda Stahl's letter, she certainly documents what's happening in the park itself. And I would say that I don't know how you get an environmental assessment, but from what she has said and others that I have, other people who have sent me emails, that there is some degradation, that some bad things are happening there. I think there are a lot of ways to remedy this. One of them is perhaps you have to have a pass to go, a day pass to go to the park. And I'm certainly more interested in ours than in another provincial park somewhere else. But here, it would be a fine idea to have online passes for the day. So when that parking lot is full, that's it. I don't know what the capacity is, but whatever it is, that's it. You don't issue any more. It means more staff. But then again, I think that Mono Cliffs Park is understaffed greatly. I haven't been there for a while, and a lot of it has to do with the numbers of people. It was an issue before COVID. Right now, it's a really big issue. People congregate. It's not a responsible thing to be watching what happens there. So I think that we need to be on this. We need to be proactive, and I'm glad to see that Mark is on it, and that we are going to have our say, whether they want to hear us or not. That's it.
Okay, thank you. Ralph, did you have a report? Oh, I'm sorry, John.
If I could just comment on that, we have a meeting coming up shortly, and I'm going to speak very passionately on behalf of the many, many individuals who are objecting to the notion of dumping large numbers of people in to the park off a proposed parking lot on the second line. I think it's an idea that may have looked appealing in the first instance, but upon scrutiny, makes no sense whatsoever. I think there are other solutions that we can look at, and I agree with Sharon that maybe we need to get a handle on the number of users of the park. And one issue that was raised with me yesterday was whether or not there should be a different designation for Mono Cliffs, that being a reserve as opposed to a park. And that might have the effect of quelling the popularity of the park.
Thank you. Ralph, do you have anything to report?
Yes, Your Honor. That was a challenging last couple of days. I attended the Roma meeting, all virtual, and I must say it's quite a disappointment to attend a virtual convention where you're used to meeting people, sitting down at a table for lunch and meeting new councillors and mayors, etc., and chatting and learning something. So I found it to be very disappointing in terms of what I got out of it. Wasn't affected. This was affected also by the tremendous difficulty I had with the Zoom meeting on yesterday. I did provide a report, and I would appreciate if that could be posted somehow. There are two things I'd like to talk about. Well, first of all, before that, I think that Karen has brought up something really important here. This is the Mona Center Park. And the town, the village there. I think there's two issues here, and it sounds like the village is really, it's sitting on the edge of too much activity, and they're hurting by it. And we need to consider this somehow with representatives of Mona Center. It also appears to me, the more I think about it, and I have walked this park maybe in my life, maybe a half dozen times, and taken my family there, and it's a remarkable park. It's a remarkable place. And it's a place that needs to be preserved. There's no question about that. And what we do need, and we of course, we do not have control over it. The Parks Management does, but I think we can exert a lot of influence by our interest and passion for its management. So I think that many of the suggestions that have been brought up here, including the limitation of the number of people attending, etc., really need to be considered. I'm very supportive of parks as a place for people at this time of COVID to be able to go to, but a place which is has the sensitivity, environmental sensitivity that this place has, it needs to be protected. The two things I want to talk about briefly was monopollinator garden. We're very excited to get going again this year. Last year we managed to didn't do any new plants. I don't know whether we will or not this year, but we did a lot of maintenance work and some construction work and some on-site education. And I'm very interested in what we can do this year. We'll be having a management meeting in a few weeks' time. More to follow. Two thoughts about COVID. As you know, I've been trying to produce a little information pieces periodically, which are posted on the town's website under as messages. And my purpose was to highlight issues which it may be difficult to pick up the information, or it may be enough information hasn't been come across as strongly as it would. And there are two things that I'd like to write about in the future, and I've really been hard pressed to do this at the moment. One is vaccines, and the other is on variants. The vaccine issue, of course, is really upsetting that we as a country are being held controlled by these multinational corporations, and our agreements to receive vaccine are not being able to be followed through with. It puts us in a difficult position. It reminds me of the time when we got rid of laboratories, and obviously that's water under the bridge now, but we do need to be self-supporting in this area. And I see that there is a firm, I think it's Providence Pharmaceutical, something like that, has a vaccine which they've been working on. It will probably be ready in a year's time. COVID, the big thing on the horizon, from my way of thinking, there is the variant. Variants, as you know, are things which have genomic changes to them, which alters something in the variant. In their medical response, it maybe it alters transmissibility. That seems to be for sure. And whether or not it affects the vaccine's ability to deal with that variant is unclear. Pfizer's lab studies have suggested that it does affect the vaccine. Their vaccine does is effective for the UK variant. We now have variants from South Africa, Brazil, California, and there'll soon be more. And each one of these has different issues to it, and we're going to have to learn about them. I'd just like to give you some information about one variant which has attacked us next door, and that's at the Roberta place. I'll let you draw your own conclusions, but here's the numbers as I can gather them, and it's difficult to gather these numbers from their website, but the number of newspapers have also written about it. On January the 8th, there was some routine surveillance and at the long-term care home of Roberta Place, and it's reported that there were 6 persons that were identified as being positive. One of these was a staff member who had close contact with somebody who had traveled internationally. And you know, there's been various conversations about international travel. On the traveling side of it, we're hearing that this only brings in a few people, and we shouldn't, a few infected people. They're talking about 2% at Pearson, and if that's not important, well, that's extremely important, particularly if they bring in a variant that we're not used to. Anyway, this one person apparently quarantined with a staff member. This traveler quarantined with a staff member at Roberta Place, and pretty soon the virus was transmitted to Roberta Place. As of the 45th of January, there were 250 cases. Of these, there were 127 residents, staff were 81, household contacts 42. Of all the residents there, one report is that only 3 of them have not been infected. As of today, or yesterday, there were 46 residents and 1 healthcare worker who had died. That's in a period of 17 days or something like that. It's a genome test. Genome testing has been confirmed that this is the UK V.117 variant. This is an example to me of high transmission, and it's next door to us now. It's obviously in the community. What can you, as an individual, do about this? Well, obviously the vaccine is going to be useful, but it's not going to be available for a little while. Quality masks, I think, are very important, and more vigilance than you've had before. Not good news. That's all, Your Honor.
Okay, thank you. Fred, next, do you have anything to report? No? John, did you have anything to report?
Yes, as Mark indicated, we have a meeting this afternoon with Rogers, and looking forward to that. I was planning on attending a SWIFT workshop last evening, and was reliant upon some links that were sent to me that didn't work, and I discovered that they were using an event platform, and that it had essentially sold out by the time I caught up to that reality. So unfortunately, what I'd hoped to report on insofar as a SWIFT project along the 10th Side Road and north towards Camilla on Highway 10, I don't have any news on that. I've been asked to join a health unit vaccine sequence strategy task force. And it's an interesting group, not necessarily of doctors and health professionals, but individuals representing various parts of the community. And we're giving advice to Dr. Mercer and her officials as to prioritization of vaccine when it finally becomes available in larger quantities. Obviously, the province has its criteria, but there is some latitude given to the health units insofar as which groups of people are deserving of consideration, again, once that vaccination becomes available. Obviously, age is a huge factor. but there's also issues with regard to exposure and essential services versus non-essential services and so forth. So I've been keeping Ralph informed of that work. The group is meeting weekly and expects to do so for the next 5-6 weeks. So that's those are my reports.
Okay, thank you. Sharon, did you have something?
Just something I wanted to add about the Provincial Park. There is precedent set for monitoring the number of people. We went by Terracotta, and there were 2 staff members there, and when the parking lot was full, no one else got in. Another car comes up, they can wait for somebody to come out, but they were not allowing them in. So there is some thought going in at the province level about this, I would say. Maybe it's just Terracotta staff who are handling that, but anyway, it has been done.
Yeah, the CDC has been monitoring all of theirs over the last, period of time. And I know coming up Airport Road, what's that? Just south of 9, I can't remember that conservation area, but they had posted signage for no parking up and down the sides of Airport Road to ensure that there was no overload. So it is possible. Glenn Happy, yes. Thank you. Mike, I see you had your hand up.
Thank you, Your Worship. Deputy Mayor Krillman, I think I can put two fiber items together that you seem to be tracking and similar for SWIFT and similar to the one that I'm tracking. The one that I've been talking about is exactly the fiber install project that you're trying to find information about. It's North Frontenac Telecom Corporation. They're definitely looking to install at Camilla in the entire subdivision, County Road 10 from Highway 10 all the way out to Laurel, and they're also looking at some spur lines, some small lines that'll pick up some of our side roads that cross the Monoam town line. So I just didn't want you to. That's the agreement that I am talking about. That's
Yes.
Currently being prepared and on the way to council. So if you want, we can have a phone conversation to bring you up to speed where I am and what links I have been using and trying to find on SWIFT. The mapping is not very clear on the SWIFT release of grant notification.
Thank you.
Okay. And Mark, you were on and then you were gone again.
No, I'm fine, Your Worship.
Okay.
I was commenting on Glen Happy, and the other question would have been whether the staff at Terracotta was Conservation Authority staff as opposed to provincial staff.
Yeah, I do believe so.
Yeah.
So, okay then. So as Mark had mentioned, I do have a meeting with the Ontario Parks by conference tomorrow afternoon, and then this afternoon we've got the conference with Rogers, and so there's lots going on. And we just try and make sure that the technology can keep everything going. So if there's nothing further, moving along on the agenda, is there any notices of motion? Seeing none, we have no in-camera items, so we were going to sign off if there isn't anything else. And just to remind council members that we will be doing something after this, so don't completely log out. Maybe we'll take a 10-minute break and then we'll start up again. And so we have that we introduce and give the necessary readings for bylaw to confirm the proceedings of Council of the Town of Mullen, Session 2-2021, held on the 27th of January 2021, that it be signed by the mayor and the clerk and sealed in the Boylston bylaw book. We have a mover. Moved by Nix and seconded by Martin. Any discussion? Anyone opposed? Seeing none, that's carried. And that we adjourn this meeting at 10:27 a.m. And moved by Nix, seconded by Krillman. And that's carried. Okay, thank you, everybody. So all the staff can exit and Andrew can take us offline. And then if you want to take 10 minutes and then we'll come back and we will start up again.